Hello and welcome to Pride and Politics with Mizan, a show where we get to discuss what's going on in the world and in our local politics, the topic that impact you and matter the most. Today we are discussing regeneration and its impact. Is it a positive approach to rejuvenating areas and population, or are there destructive elements for individual lives and communities that needs to be considered? To dig deeper in the issue, we will be focusing on Chrisp Street market development as an example of regeneration. For those of you who don't know the Chrisp Street market, it is a marketplace within Lansbury Estate in Poplar in the London Borough of Tower Hamlets. It was the first purpose-built pedestrian shopping area in the United Kingdom, built as part of 1951 Festival of Britain. It features prominent clock tower, shops, small retail outlets, pubs, cafes, apartments, and over 100 market stalls. You will have seen or shopped at the local stalls and shops. There are also large residential population who live close to the market. On 24th July 2018, Tower Hamlets Strategic Development Committee unanimously approved the regeneration plan for the Chrisp Street market to redevelop the market and surrounding housing to improve the area. This sounds like a positive development. However, there have been objections from the local communities and traders who fear being pushed out of the area they have lived or worked in for their entire lives. My guests today are people who are linked to the area and the development. I'd like to introduce to you from far right, Kahar Chowdhury, local ward councillor, Babu Bhattacherjee, Director, Community and Neighbourhood, Poplar HARCA. Welcome to the show. On my left, Mr. Ammar Hasanie. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did.
Chrisp Street trader. Right. And on my far left, Zakaria Hussain, campaigner. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Just to kickstart everything, let me just address this question to Babu Bhattacherjee, is why the need for regeneration in this area?
As an organisation, we've been working in Poplar, so we're not working across the whole of Tower Hamlets, but we're working in Poplar for 20 years. We've seen the stock, the housing, the shops, we've looked at the area, we engage with the communities, and we've looked at a range of solutions, and sometimes a regeneration solution is the right one. And in this case, as it is for Chrisp Street, we believe it's in the best interest of the community, the traders, and the well-being of the area for the market to be part of a regeneration scheme that brings...
Why is there so much noises against opposing the whole concept, what HARCA is proposing? Why is so many traders and the residents not happy about what you're proposing?
Yeah, it's clear that change is something that's worrying to some residents, some traders. We've tried hard to make the case for why we think regeneration is in the interests of a local community, that it can be part of a local solution, and that it can bring jobs, it can bring better opportunities to shop, it can bring better opportunities for the wider area.
Let me just hold on to it. Let me just address this, Ammar. Why is there so much noise from opposing the whole development that HARCA is trying to? I mean, isn't it a good thing that they're trying to do for the local community and for the traders?
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a lot of misconception over this. In a way, we agree with Poplar HARCA. Regeneration is required. We're not against...
we agree on that.
Yeah, we agree on that. And we agree on many of the things. Chrisp Street is run down, it's dilapidated, it does require it. Our concerns are the way that it's been handled by Poplar HARCA. Consultations have not taken place properly.
But
they say they have done it.
Have you been in one of the
it's a consultation is meant to be a two-way conversation. They're supposed to take our views on board, take the local community views on board. They haven't done that. What they're putting us over a table like this, and they're literally putting a paper. This is what we're going to do.
Is that what
that's what their agents are saying, not directly Poplar HARCA. Okay. They've appointed a company called M&M, I think, and that's how they've been very shrewd, arrogance, threatening behaviour.
Is it from the M&M?
Yeah, I mean, it's the agents they've appointed, and we have complained on many occasions. There's been written complaints, there's been verbal complaints around these agents, and Poplar HARCA don't seem to take any interest listening to tenants to bring somebody else in who's a bit calmer, can sit down over a table and negotiate. You know, we're not saying redevelopment. Look, it's 1950, I believe this building was made. We're now 70, 80 years in. It does need redoing. We're all for it, but you know, somebody who's been trading like myself here for 15 years, we want some guarantees. We're looking at other projects Poplar HARCA have done in Isle of Dogs. We've done one down the road from Chrisp Street in the Upper Feldy. We've spoken to retailers there that the rents have been pushed up almost 100 to 200%, which becomes unaffordable. You know, we're not Westfields, we're not Canary Wharf.
Can I come to this point? What can you say about that? You know, the traders and the residents are not being dealt with the agent that has been appointed by HARCA. What?
I think the nature of any negotiation is there are always going to be interests at play, and for some people, I think I can listen to comments about how well those negotiations have gone and whether relationships have been handled properly, and say that we've always been open ourselves where our agents maybe aren't representing our views properly. I'm not saying that's true, but in a situation where traders feel that the agents aren't representing our views fairly, we've always got an open door and we're always ready to look at that and have those conversations further, as we have done with many traders, as things have arisen and as things have needed to be explained or added to.
Kahar, yes. From council point of view, how has council managed to handle this? Because you know, they're the one who actually gave the permission for the go-ahead of this development. So how has council actually handled this issue?
Well, just to give it some context, as you are aware, the SDC itself is quasi-judicial, so they look at a particular application on its merit and agree that. So that's what's happened at the last meeting. So in terms of the concerns with the traders and the consultation that Ammar was referring to, so when these issues were raised with us as local councillors and even before the election, what we did was we took those issues, we raised them with Poplar HARCA, with the directors. We went back and forth having several meetings with them regarding those concerns and highlighting them, including that going around to residents as well as traders and finding out what are their concerns and then highlighting them to Poplar HARCA. So essentially when a regeneration like this presents itself, we have to look at the benefits for our residents. So a mixture of social and affordable housing. The council policy is 35 to 50%, so we want to look at achieving that bracket that is desirable to go on the upper scale of that scale. And then also protection for traders. So are they going to be driven out? Is it going to be like for like?
Are they going to be driven out? That is the biggest worry from the traders' point of view.
Indeed. I mean, so there's no guarantees given on paper, is it?
Yeah, so
verbal.
What I have said from the very beginning, and the party as a whole, the Labour Party that is, we've always said that there has to be these protections for traders. So if you, with any regeneration, if you change the demographics so much so, it becomes actually gentrification. So we want these local traders, local businesses, including the stores, to thrive and stay there. So obviously the regeneration will provide many benefits, which Babu
you highlighted the word gentrification. You know,
yeah.
It's quite bold. This is this what's happening actually, directly or indirectly?
I would submit no, because we have a mixture of social and affordable housing. London Mayor Sadiq Khan himself is investing, as London Mayor is investing.
Let me come back to you on that point. Just hold on to it. Sure. Let me just bring in Zakaria. Is it fair to object to such a boldly investment that HARCA is planning to invest in order to rejuvenate everything?
To be honest with you, like as we all sort of agree, regeneration is key for that area. You know, there will be benefits that come in out of this regeneration, but doesn't mean that we should be held ransom to sort of corporate lobbying. when it comes down to the sort of issues at play here, you know, we've got a local councillor here who sat on one side of the fence and said no to sort of the initial planning committee before this election. So we had a different sort of planning committee, and it was indeed the Conservative councillor Peter Gold who raised objections to the lack of social housing, and there was another issue raised with the planning permission in regards to antisocial behaviour by councillor Asma Begum. I was at the SDC committee that recently happened that approved yes, and Councillor Kahar, you know, you can correct me if you're wrong, you clapped, you know, happy that this permission was put forward.
That's not correct.
No, that is correct.
I did not. I was taking notes.
No. Okay, so
that's not correct.
For this discussion to sort of happen honestly and to be factual, you have to look at things from both sides of the table. No one here is saying no to regeneration, but the word gentrification has come to light now. Let me finish, Kahar. So one thing that we have seen from this administration is the power that corporations have over it. The STC was meant to make a decision without any bias or any sort of views that will differentiate it. We've seen in the planning committee that there has been a lot of discussions with Steve Strides, and no offence to Babu, but he's not the right person here to be answering all the questions. Have we got the just number of social housing properties available? The council itself is invested by giving a huge plot of land for near enough nothing. You know, local traders, they've been through these years of, you know, we're talking about it's dilapidated, we're talking that it's dirty, that it needs to be rejuvenated. These people have suffered, and this is the existing community. And since this decision has come about, the local mosque has been closed down, shops are closing at a rate which hasn't been seen, and then ultimately our local councillors and people who are elected for these particular wards, who are they actually working for? Is it the corporation or is it the public? And ultimately we're here today to discuss who is doing what. And for me, as a campaigner, we used to be of a different political party before. It's not about finding the right answer, it's actually finding a middle ground. That hasn't been achieved yet. And secondly, if you look at the SDC as well, are our elected officials asking the right questions of the officers? You know, this is a big project. It's not, you know, having a lick of paint somewhere.
Asking the right question to...
Well, look, like I said, the decision, we're not, the other two councillors, my colleagues, so Councillor Bex-White and Harry could not be here. They could not be here, so there are apologies because one is on a holiday and the other is engaged with family. So neither of us are on the SDC, so it is a matter for the SDC, and like I said, it's quasi-judicial and they make the decision based on the merits of a given application. Coming back to what Zach was saying about the the first initial application that was deferred before the election, there were so many concerns, and we raised that. We actually then, after being...
So did you hold up a placard saying no to that particular...
more social housing. We wanted
but what I'm saying is...
There were a number of concerns.
No, but what I'm saying, but did you... But
so
we've
got... All
the
concerns that the reason that these plans were deferred for, none of them have been addressed or answered, nor did we... The main reason it was deferred for, that there should be a public consultation. Poplar HARCA till date did not have a public consultation to address the issues that the planning was deferred.
Just on
also on housing, it didn't increase, it was 50%.
Just on that point, the application that went to committee was fully compliant with all the council's policies. There was an increase in social housing. It did reach the council's percentages that they wanted to see. We talked about 35 to 50% as being a benchmark. The reason that it's closer to 35 than it is to 50 is because so much is being invested in the shops and the retail. If we weren't doing that, it might have been possible to raise the housing more.
Massive funding here from the GLA. Also, the land was given to you free. You're using public land. So where you're using the taxpayer's land, there should be a higher payback to the taxpayer or to social housing. This is not a private land. This is not a private investment or development.
So the question about stock transfer and the circumstances in which land was transferred to Poplar HARCA was that that's all documented, and you can look at those documents and you can look at the commitments that were made as part of that. I think the Chrisp Street Regeneration lives up to those commitments. So we're putting those commitments into practice. When you guys
took over the stock, you promised an immediate 10 million investment in not just refurbishment, there was no talk of redevelopment then, that was just to get the stock. It was all seen, and this is where there's a lack of trust between Poplar HARCA and the residents and the business residents, is that we've just had falsified lies being told to us over and over and over and over again. Even I'll give you a recent example.
How soon did they say that they're going to reinvest?
Well, immediately. I mean, look. I mean, when Chrisp Street partnership, we had a Chrisp Street forum there, which was a business forum that all the shopkeepers would come together and have meetings every 6 weeks. In that, we had Chris Clark of Poplar HARCA stand up and say, "Look, guys, you bring us in, and what we'll do, we'll change."
But isn't it now they're trying to invest?
No, I mean, we're going back 10, 12 years here, right? So what in 10, 12 years, they've allowed this market to dilapidate. As the minute they took over, they were supposed to put seating areas around the fountain. We were shown all these plans, and somewhere we've got copies, and this is all minuted and documented. So, you know, that doesn't lie. Minutes of the meetings don't lie. Around the front, Chrisp Street Market, where Barclays Bank and where the offices are, there's meant to be new fountain, new seating. There was meant to be new plants. There were meant to be new lights because people were worried about walking down Chrisp Street in the dark. It felt very vulnerable. So all these plans were actually shown to us. That can't lie. So where is that today?
Okay, let me just go here.
So the previous planning application that was deferred and the issues that were raised, like Zach stated, by the STC committee, a lot of them we took and we actually went back to Poplar HARCA. So, for example, there was going to be issues surrounding antisocial behaviour. So we raised that. We looked at how many pubs are going to be there, the extension of hours, whether or not there is going to be an extension of hours, this whole concept of nightlife, what does it consist of? So upon deeper inquiry into these matters, found out it's going to be a Indian restaurant, there's going to be a cinema and community space, and it's not going to go out of hours if you it's going to be within reasonable closing time as it is now. So it doesn't change many of these things. However, we've raised them and we sought to address them. And there was going to be initially 3 pubs, so it's been reduced to 2, which Babu can confirm. Yeah. So we have raised those issues and concerns. And the thing is, the second SDC, you see, again, we spoke to you first, the traders, right? We took those concerns. We spoke to the we went back and forth with HARCA, yeah? We highlighted, when we wrote to the SDC about all these issues and concerns, so you know that you have a copy of it. I've given you a copy, and the entire SDC committee have a copy. And it's on the record. And what we've sought to highlight, being elected as councillors, all 3 of us, we took a collective decision that we want to highlight all this. We wanted to speak at the SDC. We were not permitted by the rules because you had to either speak for or against. And what we wanted to do, because we're not on the SDC, what we wanted to do is fairly and proportionately raise all the concerns and issues of traders, of residents, right, and highlight that to the SDC so the SDC can take an informed view on the application itself.
I think
and we made several. No,
right? It is regardless what you say.
Let me interject.
Right?
Look,
we've made the committee with Steve Stride have been meeting in private behind closed doors. We've got photographs of them having dinner together.
Can I just say this?
Right? In their offices, but that's against regulations and rules.
These are allegations.
No, they're not allegations. We've got photographs.
You would know I haven't viewed that. But what I want to say is, when we made those recommendations, we made actually 6 recommendations, you know, and that is about the mooted job creation, and those job creation should be targeted for local residents in particular.
But you're losing 700 traders.
And that's what
you're losing jobs as it is, because at the moment, if you look at the regeneration, Kahar, I'm sorry, I need to sort. No, I think what is. Let me just quickly say that. Okay. This show was meant to happen 3 or 4 times, so you've had a long time to get your PR spiel ready. Before the before the election came, you was with the traders, with the public, and you made promises. Hence why you've been elected. Let me finish my point. So when we come back down to the recent STC decision, which was a yes for the regeneration on the grounds of whatever it was done, to be honest with you, it was disheartening to see a local councillor who was supposedly neutral clapping, and there's witnesses. There's witnesses there, Kahar. Second, no, it's not like that's something that can be proved.
This is something I don't know. So
but okay,
it's new to me.
Okay, Kahar, I'm saying in the public. I'm saying in the public domain. If you want to sue me, you can sue me. But I'm telling you, there's witnesses to this. You're all happy. Secondly, when it comes down to the STC, The right questions.
Was it just general clapping? Or
No. It was cheer of jubilation. If I want to be, if I become crass and say something, the happiness expressed by local councillors.
Let's move on.
You see, but I think going back to the STC, Steve Strides came in, and it was meant to be a place. The town hall is a place of democracy. Local people were stopped from going into that STC committee, and he was bombarded by Poplar HARCA staff and by Steve Strides dictating what was happening. Yes. And I'm gonna say something. No one here is against regeneration. The mega thing that the traders are wanting is a guarantee on written paper and a contract. Show them that you've got 700 people that are employed by this market, and to be honest with you, whatever the benefits are, if in 12 years you haven't invested what you are meant to have invested, they could promise us that the moon will be pink tomorrow, and is our councillors going to believe this?
The problem I have with a lot of these things is that if you're stating what you think to be right, that's fine. But ultimately, if you say that 700 people are going to lose their jobs, they're not. They haven't lost their jobs for 10 years, for 20 years, for all the time that we've been in charge of the market. The market's been full.
No,
the shops have been full.
Our rent's going to go up.
And all this thing about,
and in the first 5 years,
Ammar,
I tell you one thing.
You make a point, Ammar, which is that it's a conspiracy going on. Somehow this was sewn up and it's unfair. But actually, that's just your position. There's no factual evidence for that. You say you've got facts.
Is it normal that the STC planning committee goes out with the CEO
if you really believe
Poplar HARCA to the pub after they passed
if you really believe that,
no,
then honestly, make a
we've got photographic evidence.
Because like it's
Steve
great.
Stride leading the whole STC into the pub next door to the town hall.
If you've got such a great dossier of evidence, you've got such a great dossier of evidence, you've got all these facts, you've got all these written documents, and that's what you say all the time to me, then great.
But Babu, we have got a local elected councillor here who's sitting on the fence and siding with the corporates. When it comes down to accountability,
are you saying we're corporate?
You are corporate. Your business needs are very different to the public. Let me interject. When it comes down to gentrification, and the word's been used, we're seeing this happen now because the local people haven't got the same say.
No. We're not getting like for like.
If you look, hold on. Okay, do you believe in Babu? You believe in facts and figures? In the council, when the facts and figures were presented, do you know how many people were for this development and how many were against? Do you know?
What, as a absolute figure?
The figures that were...
Let's give you that figure.
Approximately.
So let's give you that figure. I would say, in my opinion, the majority of people in that community, who live in those homes, who shop in that market, and who trade in that market, were positive about it.
Okay, but the facts and figures state that over 2,000 people were against it and only 1,700 for. So clearly, either your consultation is wrong, or actually you haven't appeased everybody.
Where did you get that?
It was given on screen at that council meeting.
It was 1,764 and 6,300 against.
So when you say that,
so you're going to tell us yes, it's all been done.
That's the STC's figures.
Secondly, we've seen.
So sorry, like the thing about these facts.
Kahar is saying he hasn't seen.
Why would he? Okay, let me something. We can all be blind as a Kahar. How come you have not seen the against?
They are against all these people.
No, it gave the two figures that these are on the surveys done. So many people
were
for it, and these are the people against it. So the figures against it were higher. Even then, the STC passed this.
Let me take.
So wait, Kahar, did you see the actual figures or not? You didn't see
that figure.
Okay, so this is what I'm. So
I haven't seen that figure, so I don't know. I can't.
Okay, so it was on the screen. It's on the website.
If you go onto the planning application,
let's that was on this. Okay.
But let's take.
You was there.
Let's take a point on this. If you're saying that planning decisions can only be made by the number of people who sign a petition for or against, then that's fine. You can suggest that.
But you said something that it was majority are happy, but they're not.
But also you've got to look at the geographical area it covers.
Petition.
You've got to look at that as well.
Who
impacted and who are affected?
No. Everybody in Tower Hamlets is going to be affected if we, as the council and an administration, is selling off our land for corporates.
Saying who actually signed those, isn't it supposed to, if it's done properly, it's supposed to be the residents or the traders who actually live in that area?
I would say they were never scrutinised in that way. They weren't meant to represent that. So if I go out and I say, okay, will you sign my petition? And people did go out and say, sign my petition. Some people just sign because they just want to be left alone and they'll sign it. And all I'm saying is that
I understand HARCA actually done a survey.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because
we've done surveys, we've talked to people.
Residents come up to us, our customers in E1 who knew nothing about the Chrisp Street regeneration and saying, oh, somebody from Poplar HARCA knocked on my door at 7:30 and asked me to sign the survey. And I said, what's it got to do with me in E1? Poplar HARCA were putting their employees on the street, going door to door, knocking, getting them to sign.
So,
Even
Ammar,
then,
did you sign a petition?
I signed a petition.
Okay,
against
so you live in Ilford, don't you?
Yeah,
so
but
you
I
don't
have
live
a business.
locally.
I pay business tax.
So did you make that clear? Did you make that clear?
Yes, I put my address down.
So is that
Okay,
something
okay, Babu,
so
Babu.
every address isn't local then?
No, Babu,
but
it's not
I
that.
work.
Ammar's got an interest. It's not about where you live.
I'm just saying, if we want to decide this by petition, then if that's the case, then why don't you make that proposal?
No, but wait, it happened. It was discussed in the previous SDC that there will be a consultation. It didn't happen. And 3 months later, you guys have said yes.
But they also mentioned that they have done the consultation.
No, they haven't. Where's the evidence?
Well,
there was submission. Honestly, this again, I think that sat in a studio like this, it's the wrong place to say all the documentation that went into planning committee, because there were literally hundreds of pages of documentation about consultation.
There was another public consultation. Was it advertised in the press? Was there any paper advertisement?
After, in between the two committees,
you had an open day.
I've met with you several times.
Yeah,
We've discussed it. I've met with traders several
Yeah.
times. I've met with the public several times. So it's not right to say that it didn't happen. Maybe in your narrow terms, it wasn't a public meeting.
Apparently, sorry.
I don't know how you define public
consultation
meetings. I don't know what you define.
It's
open for the
not
public.
a one-to-one. That's an
Then
individual.
there were meetings like that. There were meetings, definitely.
You
meetings
had
like
a
that.
public open day which clearly states on a HARCA letter.
Oh, so an open day isn't a public meeting?
Which you're not allowed to say anything against the plans. We're just telling you again what we're going to do. It clearly states on there that we won't be listening to your views, or there won't be any changes at this stage in the application. You've actually put that on the HARCA letter.
Ammar, look,
right? When the council SDC said
I'm really happy.
that you need to sit down and talk to the residents and take on board some of the things and work with them.
So Ammar, look, I mean, you might have a better idea of how to do consultation than me.
Yeah. No. You guys are the corporates that are doing it. What guarantees has come out now since the last 3 months?
Let me just make this point about consultation. So you might have a better idea about that, and I'd welcome your ideas about who we should engage with and how we should engage with. But just setting a really narrow band of what meets your definition and what doesn't mean that all the people we talk to somehow don't count or they don't matter. Everyone we talk to matters.
Well,
now, whether it fits your definition is by the by.
Even the people that are with your plans, there is one common denominator between all of them that they're against, is the car park. That's one major thing, that whether you're for it or against it, even the people who are for it are saying, even the councillors who said that this market will not survive without a car park, but yet you've got your blinders on, you're putting a deaf ear, and you are consistently saying, without having any knowledge of business, you guys are not business people, you have got no business experience.
So you say that.
Your consultants feel that this market can survive. Although, we've got Stratford, Westfields, that has a massive car park, one of the largest. We've got Oxford Street, we've got Canary Wharf, which is the highest security risk in London City, the financial city, which has a car park for its shoppers. But yet you're saying that you want to narrow Chrisp Street shoppers to a local vicinity and kill the market.
We've seen locally a big business who operates in the Southeast Asian food market who has now moved and opened another branch somewhere across the A13 because of car parking.
Well, car parking in London, to be honest, is a major.
Yes, it is, and it's something that can't be an oversight, that you're not going to put a car parking when it's already there.
As a national, and with being a Greenpeace and all that, they want to reduce it nationally. The usage of cars. So there's a huge pressure.
What we're disagreeing is you can't have one rule for one and one rule for another. So if Tower Hamlets Council, Labour, whoever they are, want to have a car-free zone, then all the planning applications within the borough should have no cars. 300 yards up the road, Telford Homes themselves, the master developer of this project, have got planning permission granted in September 2017. You can go on the planning website portal and they've got planning for underground car park. Yet we are demanding that they build, and it's down to financial factors. They don't want to invest. They don't care about the local public. They don't care about their demands. We've already got a car park here. I've spoken to 2 surveyors. We've spoken to other councillors in Tower Hamlets and in Redbridge and in the borough of Newham. And they've all stated
I think
that there's already a car park there. You don't need planning permission. If you want to build on top, you just add on top of it.
Car park has been a major issue with a lot of the people I've got to speak about.
Let's hear why they're not addressing it.
Why has I know you tried. I think there's an alternative plan as to there's a drop-off point and pick-up points and all that stuff. But
we might as well put the cars onto our own forehead. Do you know what I mean?
So I know parking's a a contentious issue. Personally, I think that we are not able to deal with the amount of car traffic that there is in the borough.
No, not personally. Effects. What is your organisation's view in regards to this particular car park?
Let me just say this. So when it comes to traders and what they think is best for their business, and they say car parking is best for their business, okay, that's one factor. There are a series of other factors. How is the market going to improve? What are we going to do to it? How are we going to drive footfall? This question of how people go to do their shopping, maybe some people do use cars, lots of people don't. And I think the question for us is... What's
the statistics to back up that most people don't?
Well, what I would say is that behaviour change is possible. So look, I hear lots of traders saying, for example, you know, things about plastic bags, that plastic bags, if we can't give out plastic bags for free, that's going to drive away trade. If we have a congestion charge, it's going to drive away trade. If we change things, the only consequences are negative. I think that part of this is understanding that the council's policy is to have a car-free development.
No, but so the council's policy is car-free zone, but we've just seen and heard now there's a development 300 yards away with an underground car parking. Is your company willing to invest in infrastructure to provide a car park as it is existing, or create underground car parking? You're not willing to put your money where your mouth is.
Has that been in the consultation?
Only because...
No,
that's the major contested issue. They have not sorted that.
Well, only because I would say...
Has that from council?
Has that been rectified now then, Kahar?
No, that has been one of the concerns.
Has it been rectified?
Concern, but
we've raised that with Poplar HARCA. Like you say, there's they're looking at other potential sites, because that
three-quarters of a mile away.
That current potential car park.
No, it's an existing car park. It's not current potential. It's an existing car park, which is the life.
It doesn't belong to Poplar HARCA or the council.
Ammar has mentioned underground car park. Can't that be facilitated?
Not by the council, but what we did in terms of the parking, we made recommendations that, you know, the surrounding street parking and the bays and the loading, that should not be decreased. That should not be decreased. That's the
okay. Hold up. Okay, I'm really sorry. You're saying that you've made a proposal that the side streets, which are already currently in place.
Not proposal, a recommendation.
Recommendation. Did you recommend that the car park remains?
No, it shouldn't decrease.
No, I'm saying...
We raised those concerns.
Okay, so did you...
Are you
happy with Poplar HARCA's answer that the car park is going to remain? It's not going to remain, is it? So how are you saying that you've raised issues, and to me it just sounds like you've raised issues for the sake of raising issues, and you're not following things through, Kahar?
We have.
Have you... What changes happened?
Have we got from Poplar?
What changes?
What we're saying in terms of the...
We as in the council, or we as in Poplar HARCA and the council?
No, as just local councillors. Because these concerns have been raised with us, and we had numerous discussions.
As a councillor, I'm asking you a direct question. You have raised this. Have you been given a written guarantee on paper by Poplar HARCA that will remain, or that they will provide? Because every time we ask them, all they are saying is, "Oh, we'll see later." It's all fake promises.
Ammar, it's not.
Up to now, we've had nothing but fake promises.
So Ammar, you know, you're saying very clearly.
Guarantees.
But listen. Not about.
Why are you so scared about putting on paper?
Not about parking specifically.
You're not committing to anything.
But look, here's what we're doing. We know that the development has to be car free in order to meet the planning.
No, you don't. So
why
is it?
So Ammar, let me just carry on. So we don't yet know, you don't yet know what impact that will have on trade. I don't think it will have a negative impact on trade.
No disrespect.
And
like you said, you live in Ilford yourself.
To take this forward, I don't actually.
Or wherever, you don't live in Tower Hamlets.
And I live a lot closer to Tower Hamlets.
Your office is relocating out of Chrisp Street.
It's not.
It's not. Chrisp Street.
Ammar, it's not.
Listen,
so look,
you have not got no vested investment within the market, right?
We have a huge investment in this market.
I'm talking about you as employees. You work for a company. Right, we have our personal investments. If tomorrow that business doesn't work, we're the financial losers.
So why is it that Chrisp Street
your shops can rotate? It's not full.
It is.
You've got more empty shops in Chrisp Street.
Really? Then where?
Then it was 10 years ago.
Then where?
Give me an example. There was a waiting list.
Give me an example, Ammar. You're really good at the facts and figures. Give me an example of another market.
Watney Street is full.
And Watney Street. Where do you park in Watney Street?
There's parking.
No,
there is car parking.
There's not parking.
Okay, let me tell you. To be honest with you, because I live in that area, there's car parking underneath.
Not for
yes, there is. If you look at certain shops, they've got parking bays underneath. The market traders parking side.
And market traders. That's a different.
No, market traders and residents. And if you shop within Chapman Street, there is car parking in the back.
Residents. It's very different. So when we look at car parking, how much it affects businesses.
I'm going to be honest with you. Like I've said to you, Whitney Market, because I live near there is parking for residents, for traders, for the public, and it's always been there.
There's an underground car park.
Yes, there's an underground car park,
but it isn't used.
There's rare service areas.
And one more thing, when we come back down to now, Kahar, I want to ask you a question. Are you for this development on the premise that these promises are going to happen, or are you for this development because you've got guarantees for the traders and the residents who oppose this? Everyone wants a better deal. There's government money being involved, there's local council money going to Poplar HARCA. Councillor Andrew Woods mentioned that there's a private development which achieved social housing of a target of 50% without all of this extra money. Are we getting, Councillor Kahar, the best deal as public stakeholders in this market and this redevelopment? If not, because you might be here today, you might be gone in 4 years' time, we don't know.
Of course.
But one thing that I have seen from you and your show and your performance in the show, you're denying the things that you've already contributed to. So on the SDC, on the SDC, I have witnesses. I have witnesses. Let me finish my point. On the SDC, there was a councillor who sits on the SDC, an elderly gentleman, former councillor Uncle Hallis. He asked that chap, "How come you voted this way?" He turned around and he said, and there's witnesses, "What was I meant to do? What am I meant to do?" You as an elected official, Councillor Kahar, you represent the people of Lansbury.
Yeah.
With pre-election, you was, no, we need to fight, we need to get this, and that done. Now election has come and gone. We've not seen no change from the previous deferral to this SDC.
No.
We don't see no increase of anything. And why is that the council are so willing to bend over backwards and allow such a minute amount of social housing, which equates to, I've heard, 7 properties?
Can I just answer that?
Why should we not be fighting for 50%?
Can I just answer that question? Yes.
We want, there's a...
But Zach, you could have 50%.
No, what I'm saying is...
But it would mean no investment in the shops.
No, but what I'm trying to explain to you is, if you guys want to, you can put in and prioritize the people and the public instead of your financial gains.
What we've done...
Underground car parking, how much will it cost?
This scheme, so just to take that point, Zach, the council itself said we would lose money in terms of the viability of this scheme because we made sure that we tried to satisfy all the elements of this scheme. So that's the local housing, that's social housing, that's affordable housing. It's also the shopkeepers and making sure we've got a good environment for that to happen. It's also the public facilities like the Ideas Store, all the council facilities that are going to be in Sure Start, Children's Centre. So it's finding the right balance of those things. Yes, we could just prioritise social housing if that's what the only demand was. But actually we're trying to balance up because it's a district centre, it's a district shopping centre. It's got so much more going on than only social housing.
Babu, look, as a businessman, what we survive on, right? Now you're making, I think, from, I believe, 300, what have we got right now? 300, 250 flats? You're going into 650, right? We as a business cannot survive on the custom of 650 local flats, all right? How many times are they going to use us? Okay, now what you're killing off by not having a car park is passing trade, all right? We're not attracting anybody. With a car-free zone, what we're being told by the planning, that if this goes ahead and it's a no-free, anybody who is a resident there will not get permits to park their cars on the streets. Am I right or wrong?
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
In the new private housing.
In the new private housing section, right? So now, basically, there'll be no parking on the streets. Now, for example, a passerby who wants to see Percy Ingle, wants to stop for a coffee and a donut. Where does he stop and pull over? How many donuts are 650 people going to buy? And the residents that are moving into this place are going to be working class people. They're going to be going to work. So they might be grabbing their donuts at 7 in the morning on the way out or maybe at the tube station. But who's going to be shopping during the day? 650 people. It'd be a ghost town like Apperfeldy.
Secondly,
right now, Apperfeldy is a ghost town.
And high streets nationally have been targeted and high streets are failing. Yeah. We've seen obviously the boom in online sort of business, but high streets are failing because of these contentious issues around car parking. And the statistics and figures near enough every other year on year.
You say that, but which car park?
I can't tell you.
I can give you that. Sorry. So we had a meeting with the GLA and two pilot.
Can I just ask another question? Just while because there just seems to be
finish your point first, and then
honestly, I wouldn't interrupt you. But just my question is that you say like, oh, 650 homes aren't enough. What we need is parking. You were saying, Zach, what we need is more homes, more social homes. In the end, shouldn't you be disagreeing with a whole number of us rather than just me and Kahar? Because ultimately, you've got one priority, apparently, which is parking.
Yeah.
Why is that your only priority when there's
Because
so much more
we have
here
done,
than just parking? Surely you two should be disagreeing.
This is where I stand. I am sick to death of corporates coming in and giving us a backhand.
Corporates coming in.
Can I just
go on.
Because we are going to go for a short break. I understand you're going to leave, right? So if you want to address any questions,
let me just finish that main point.
Then we can go for a short break.
After discussion with the GLA, two schemes were put in front of us. One was, I don't know if you know Green Street, Queen's Market in Green Street, Forest Gate, Upton Park, E7, and another one was a regeneration development, which is Rathbone Market in Canning Town.
Yeah.
The GLA looked at these two projects of sustainability, and they looked at that Queen's Market was up for redevelopment 15 to 16 years ago, had heavy opposition. It's run down. It's really badly run down right now, but it's one of the most thriving markets in East London right now. It's packed. It's got a car park for 350 cars. It attracts so many shoppers. Then you've got Rathbone Market now.
So do lots of places that don't have
so like Romford Market, massive car park, massive attraction.
I was going to say something
Dagenham Market, massive car park, Sundays packed. And now look at Rathbone Market.
I was going to say
let me finish what the GLA said.
If you look at Covent Garden, if you look at kind of...
Covent Garden is a tourist area in central London.
But why can't we sort of move away from this idea of car parking? If the offer's right, if the shops are
so you're saying that people are going to fly into this country and go to Chrisp Street Market?
So I am saying that people will get on the DLR. We'll get on the DLR, we'll get on the bus, we'll walk,
No.
They will do all those
things. Let me finish.
Yes, sir.
You wanted evidence. I'll give you evidence that basically the GLA have said that the Rathbone Market, after the regeneration, the shops could not be let out because the rents were too high for the area. We're talking East London here, right?
Yeah.
Which is just up the road from us.
But one of the issues was that Morrison's didn't come to Rathbone Market, and that was a key part of the development. And so I've seen that development.
No, exactly.
I know
all these promises of these stores saying we'll sign up, and when they don't, the project has actually failed. The market is not running. There's no car parking. It's everywhere. It's double yellow lines. It's become a car-free area. So it proves that look, I go past there as well, and the only time I can pull into is somewhere like Mackey's because they've got a driving car park. Apart from that, you can't stop without getting a ticket. So who's going to stop for a 60p donut and get a £60 fine?
But I've seen plenty of people. I go to that cafe. So I do. I go to the cafe on the corner of Canning Town Road, just opposite.
And are you not worried about getting a ticket?
Because I don't take the car.
Would you take the risk?
I don't take the car. So I'll go for the offer. Yeah. It's a great Turkish cafe.
But coming to more into real zone, I mean, although the government and everyone is pushing toward the green zone, car-free zone, right? But habit-wise, still people are into the old zone, you know. And if you look at the transportation facility as well, in certain marketplace, not naming them, still there is an issue where you will not get mass traffic, or sort of like sometimes when you're passing by, when you mentioned the Canning Town market.
I'm in a hardware business. Yeah. I've got customers coming in from Romford on the way into central London, pick up paints and whatever they need. Builders come in with their vans. Where they're going to go? They're not local builders. Some are coming Romford, Ilford, Essex.
Again, for regeneration,
right?
When we're talking about regeneration, right? That's part of the development. Do you think that 50-50, you should adopt some of those areas that's being imposed and
under
that hasn't happened. The consultation hasn't happened.
Is like for like, and this is what we're saying: offer us like for like services. Right now, our customers have loading areas. We come in from far afield as business owners. We've got somewhere to park. When we took these premises on 15 years ago, we looked at all these services available, and that's what attracted us to it. Now we've spoken to our surveyors, and they said, "Well, look, it's not 300 square foot for 1,200 square foot further down the market. Impact, light, access, all of that is part of the services you are provided. If they're not providing you those, today, if you've got loading bays, whether it's on your lease or not, it's a service that services that business. It's a right of access. If that is not provided to you, then it's not like for like. And that's what HARCA don't want to listen.
Simple thing, give a written contract.
They are not willing to put, even for the people who have actually said yes for them, the STC committee that on the first sitting asked one of the main speakers for the Yes campaign who was there, asked them that, have HARCA given you anything in writing? and she was embarrassed to put her head down and say, no, I trust them, but I don't have anything legally in writing. They are not giving anything in writing.
Thank you, Ammar. Thank you, everyone. Right, Ammar is gonna be.
Have to leave yet.
He's gonna be leaving us. Not now. Ammar is gonna be leaving us. We're just gonna go for a short break, and we will be. We'll have another guest joining us as well. Sorry, we're going to go break later. So,
we're continuing.
We continue.
Oh, but let me come back on that point.
So if you can just answer.
Just to say, I know that traders will have particular interests, and that you will want to have the best deal you can possibly get, and I accept that. And I accept that sometimes you won't get that deal as well. You know, the deal.
Why are we not offering like for like? That's all we're asking. We're not asking for anything else.
Just on this point,
doesn't the contract say like for like?
So the question is, and you raised this question, like, so you said, like, why not put it in writing? But we do. We have a lease. We have a lease with every single shopkeeper. We have a written agreement. Yeah. And so when we negotiate those agreements, that's the basis for any conversation.
We are not
that's why.
For like.
That's why when a lot of these points come up, I just think, like, okay, these are guys who've got the legal stuff. You've got a solicitor, you've got people advising you. Use that. You don't have to complain on TV. Use your legal powers. Look at the lease.
But why do you have to go to that? This is the thing with Bhattacherjee, you see. You're saying it on open air. So you want us to go down the legal route. So
your
where's the negotiations?
You're already going down the legal route.
No,
you have to sign a lease.
We have to after 10 years because you are not listening. You've got deaf ears. HARCA don't want to listen.
This is a question.
This is you just said it yourself.
Ammar, this is a question.
Why can you not say an open air that you are willing to sit down with the local residents and the businesses, right, and come to terms of giving them exactly what they have? We're not asking you for anything extra. We're not saying I've got a 2,000 square foot and I want 4,000. We are asking you for like.
So this is a question.
Isn't that
if your employee asks you for a pay rise, I don't know what you pay your employees, but if they ask you for a pay rise, you could say, like, but actually,
I'm asking you for like for like. I'm asking for an increase.
I'm talking about. So why can't you just verbally agree that and give them a pay rise? You know, you would say your employees. Why not give them verbally a pay rise? Because you would say we've got a contract.
Hold on. Business. If you know, there is a contract between every employee.
What they are saying also is that have something in writing. So why isn't
such a big organisation like you are giving us verbal?
So this is the point. So for every single trader, every single shopkeeper, every single resident, we produced an offer. That's a written offer.
Yes.
That's in front of us.
And that doesn't match like for like.
In fact. So I'm sorry, Ammar. So you made a different point, which is that we didn't put anything in writing. We put everything.
No. So you're offering what you think is right. I'll be honest. We've had offers. The units are smaller. We're at the front. You're pushing us to the back. You're telling us what to do.
I'm offering something in writing.
So that offer isn't acceptable.
Every single. Well, look.
Right.
You're now saying
no.
You disagree, and I'm saying that's fine.
My main fact is like for like. Isn't that what the law states?
If
is that not what the law states?
If that's what the law states, Ammar,
so then why is HARCA denying that right?
Then why don't you pick up that point with us?
Well,
we're happy to discuss it. You don't need a general principle. You've got lawyers, you've got people operating on your behalf. Why have you got those people if you just want to do a verbal agreement on the TV channel?
So why is us as businesses who are busy running our businesses?
So one thing about a business that I know is that businesses have paperwork. Businesses operate in a legal basis. Every sale is an agreement.
Because of HARCA wanting to earn millions out of these apartments, why are you putting us out?
Can I just bring Kahar into this? What's your view when Ammar is actually saying that he's not getting, or the traders, not him just only, but the trader itself is not getting like for like? What is council point of view?
So as local councils, like I said before,
have you addressed their concerns?
Yes, we've listened to them. We've listened to residents as well. So we were very keen at looking at how we can retain local businesses, local services as well. There's some of these businesses who provide community services, so above the post office. So even with those, they have Poplar HARCA have no obligation with them because it's a private arrangement outside of HARCA. Even with them, we've been trying to negotiate, speak to Poplar HARCA and those businesses, those who operate there, because to retain those community services. So, for example, there's a ethnic TV channel like Channel I. There's care workers who operate from.
There's a mosque.
Yeah, there's a mosque.
So
which is closed.
3 days after the decision, the
mosque is closed, and
community service did nothing to retain.
Just on that point about the mosque. Sorry, Kahar. Sorry, why don't you carry on? Sorry.
Yeah, so all the services we've been looking at, so there's a tutoring services there as well for young kids. So we've been looking at that to see, because Poplar HARCA have other premises, to see whether they can provide them, spaces so that we can retain those community services.
Hold up. If Poplar HARCA would turn and say to you, we're going to relocate your mosque to the Isle of Wight, sounds to me like you're going to be happy with it.
So let's say something.
Things are closing. Things are closing. It's not happening. Things are closing.
Guys, we'll come to mosque issue. Let's come back to the mosque issue. I think we can go for a break now, right? Is there anything else that you need to address?
No, I mean, look, I'm repeating. I'm going to say once again, for all the viewers at home, we are not against redevelopment. What we feel is the way that Poplar HARCA, Tower Hamlets Council have colluded with each other, right, and pushed this through, put the public aside. All I'm saying that, look, I say on air that we stick to the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan's policy. This should have been balloted. The public's concerns should have been taken on board. This was a new application, right? I address again, this was a deferral. Tower Hamlets Council decided to treat this as a new application. According to the Mayor of London's office, if it's a new application, it should have met the new regulations because a week before
it meets the Mayor's regulations.
No, it doesn't. 50% housing minimum is a requirement now.
The Mayor,
right?
the Mayor
ballot
isn't going
is
to
a
change
requirement.
this.
Look, fine, it's past Tower Hamlets. You guys are local.
But the Mayor of London
you're all buddy friends, your pub friends. Good luck. It's now sits on the desk of a man that we trust. Right? We've got the head of housing, the Deputy Mayor of Housing looking into this. We've got the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who is very particular about social housing. Their office has promised us that this will be a fair trial. The rubber stamp has been removed. It's not going to be an easy ride. We will not be quiet. They've done this at Elephant and Castle. They've done this at Hackney. These corporates, like he says, have ruled for too long. And it's today, unfortunately, social housing people don't have a voice. They can't afford lawyers. They can't afford the big guns. We as businesses are not going to be quiet. We will fight this to the end. It's going to be delay after delay. We'll stretch it as long as we want. But I can guarantee you it's not going to be easy. All we're asking them, we still invite them today to sit down and work together and do this together. We want to be able to be enjoying this regeneration right after. Pointless us paying through our noses until they've done it. After it's done, we go bankrupt and we're having to leave. What's the point of going through regeneration when we're not there to enjoy the facilities after? Because in 8 years, they're not willing to give us any compensation. They're saying there'll be 0 losses during the 8 years of development. I mean, I don't know what businesses don't suffer when there's a regeneration. Are you saying that when you have an extension put on the back of your house, your family is not disrupted? Of course it's disrupted. Business will be disrupted, deliveries will be disrupted, walk-through will be... They're saying they're going to calculate. How are they going to calculate? They don't have current figures. Where are they going to get these statistics from? They're making things up. The surveys they made, the council, we asked on your members' inquiry, did the planning committee not themselves say in writing that they have not verified any of the surveys that are taking place? And when the results came through, the surveys by a professional company, who were they? They were their own employees. Poplar HARCA appointed these people. So it's, how can those surveys be true? Council haven't verified them. The STC knew that. Right, even though they haven't taken any of the statistics on board, whatever we said they haven't done on board. So that's why I say it is a corporate swindle. Fine, Tower Hamlets have done it. The mayor has pushed this through, whatever. But at the end of the day, look.
I mean, you're more of a corporate.
Let me bring you into it. Right, we are not going to go for a break.
Yeah.
We just going to go through because it's almost time to finish. We're not going to go for a break. Right, I think we have heard what Ammar's concern is, and he's more.
We're passionate. We've been here. We work. This is our livelihood. So we're not going to give up just like that.
Are you going to address their concern?
So we've been responding to all the concerns that we've had.
The main one is the car park.
We sat down. So actually, this
and the members of the public that were there on that day, HARCA ferried in their people. One more thing I'd like to highlight and raise: there was a lot of people from different communities from Tower Hamlets. The Section 106 money is something which is given when the social housing need is not met. Have HARCA promised a mosque in Bromley by Bow? Because we've seen members of the community from Bromley by Bow, from which HARCA has got a huge estate there, that they've been promised Section 106 funding if they support the development of Chrisp Street Market. It's about actually understanding that the local people in Chrisp Street Market need to get the best out of this, not the Section 106 money for faith organisations and mosques and stuff. We have seen in the 2 STC committees corporate whitewash, corporate lobbying. And it's not about Kahar. You're elected to represent the ward.
But this
have you fully elected and represented the ward when you sat on one side of the fence, changed again? And one more thing. No, it's the truth. It's the truth. And it's the truth.
I am elected.
There's pictures of you before, pictures of you after. I'm not happy that the councillors have actually answered these questions and verified them.
He asks a question he doesn't allow one to answer.
Because you're lying. Because you're making things up when you're telling fibs. You sat there clapping.
You have the recommendation.
You sat there clapping.
Everything's there.
And by the way, Councillor James King stood up and spoke and asked questions. You would have been allowed to speak, but you chose not to. You said you're neutral. You're here sat on that side and not with the public.
I'm sure I can understand from both sides. Right? There's lot.
I'm happy. No, in your defence,
with the mosque issue, with Chromax, all these issues, straight away I called up Babu. I sat with Steve, Babu. We raised those concerns that look, something's gone wrong here. The mosque is out of commission because of the rent increase and so on. You need to speak to them, see what's going on there.
That's what
let's get that back in the hands of traders so that people can pray here locally. Also, alternatively, I called up local mosques like Poplar Shahjalal Mosque and said, can you see if you can arrange a second Jummah for traders so they can
So you took this
that.
address. What Poplar HARCA done about it?
Sorry?
What have they done?
So let's just explain.
It's been now 6 weeks.
Let's just explain this. The mosque isn't closed. The organisation is still in that building. Now they had a problem with the rent that was being asked for by the company who manages that space. That would have happened regardless of Chrisp Street. That was just an issue about whether they could afford that space. So what they've done is they've reduced the space they've got. They're still in that building, and we are working with Chromex to try and get them that space back. So that's what we want to do. It's not because it's somehow linked to planning or anything else. That's just something that you've added in which isn't right.
Just to point out, right? We also made a recommendation, and that's been adopted by HARCA, that there's a board set up, right, comprising of different representatives, from residents, from traders, from local ward councillors, and other interested parties, right? So that board then oversees and overlooks this redevelopment, addressing issues as and when they arise. Because this development is going to go on. It's a long, we're here for the long stretch, yeah? So the work may commence in 2 years' time. So there's a lot of issues that will arise. And this is why we've done this, and we've spoken to HARCA and said, let's create that board so we can address all these ongoing issues.
I think we can all agree to disagree. There's a lot of issues here, and I'm sure
this program will go on for another. We still want to get
because what it is from from the traders and as a campaigner, you have to listen from their point of view, and also from their side, with every regeneration, right? There's always calamity. There's some side is going to be falling out, and there's someone who's going to have to bite the biggest chunk, and there will be some people who's biting the smaller chunk. No, so with regeneration, it does happen. But what it is, has it been done properly? That is the main issue.
So that's the main issue,
right? That is the main issue. Only thing is, right, what we have learned is from Babu is, if we haven't, then why don't you take the legal route and
but it's not too late to get the promises that HARCA promised. And one more thing, Kahar, I'm very happy that you've been elected. We've been told that you're professional, smart, and everything. I'm not extending. I'm just saying it's about common sense now. I'm saying something. So is it crude that I'm saying you're a professional, that you're smart and you're young? What I'm trying to explain to you is hold the council officers to account. Do not be lobbied by the corporates. Do not be listening to them. They're telling you that the sky is blue tomorrow and it's going to be red the day after. That's what we don't want to see.
I'm going to stop.
No, you haven't.
Both of you, unfortunately,
we're not getting the best deal. We're not getting the best deal.
We have to leave that for another moment.
It's there. Housing 50%. It's a Labour Party policy.
So why is it not there then?
We have urged it. The council police
urging to the point that you're not going to ruin your relationship with HARCA. Urging or doing it.
That's a nice word.
We have to, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure we can agree to disagree. There's a lot to be discussed, and I have to thank everyone that came today. Thank you for your opinions and views.